Hello and welcome. I'm Kavana Anderson. I'm the Director of Learning and Community Engagement at Sarah P. Duke Gardens in Durham, North Carolina. And I'm very pleased to welcome you to today's webinar called Healing Ukraine: Botanical Gardens in a Time of War, a Model of International Collaboration. If you're here, I think you already understand the healing potential of gardens and gardening and the importance of spending time with a healthy earth. And I hope that you will come away from today feeling even more inspired about this incredible international collaboration that aims to connect people with the earth. Thank you for being here to learn about this work. We'll be spending the next hour together learning about Ukrainian botanical gardens and their critical role during the ongoing war with Russia. Since the Russian invasion in early 2022, Ukraine's botanical gardens have been serving as centers of respite, recovery, environmental education, and nature healing. Today, we will hear from leaders at Root in Nature. We have Emily Weaver, who is formerly of the North Carolina Botanical Garden. And we will also hear from Tony Allison of Partnerships for Nature, both based in the US. We'll hear from them about their work in therapeutic horticulture and their special partnership with Ukrainian gardens. And then a real treat, we will hear from leaders from several Ukrainian gardens about their current focus on therapeutic horticulture, utilizing US expertise provided primarily by North Carolina Botanical Garden to assist the traumatized population of their country, including veterans and displaced families. We will conclude our time today with some time for questions, as well as ways to support these efforts. First, we have a little bit of housekeeping. So I'll repeat that this is a webinar. So if you are a participant joining us, your camera and microphone are off. You should only see the panelists and the slides. This is an hour-long presentation. It is being recorded, and we will share the recording with everyone who's registered, and Duke Gardens volunteers I know are joining. You'll all get a copy of the recording as well. You have the option to enable closed captions if you would like to do that on the toolbar. And since this is a webinar, you can use the Q&A feature to submit your questions. You should see that as well on the toolbar. And you may have access to the chat. And so we'll check there as well. If you do have access to the chat, it would be great to hear where you're joining us from, because as this is an international collaboration, I'm always curious where participants are joining from. So if you're able to use the chat, with my apologies that I don't know if you have access to that or not, go ahead and share where you're tuning in from today. And with that, I will introduce our US-based panelists. So we'll take a look at our faces a little bit more closely. It's my great pleasure to introduce Emily Weaver and Tony Allison, who will then introduce their Ukrainian partners. So we'll begin first with Emily Weaver, who is the Director of Learning and Community Engagement at Root in Nature, an international hub for professional growth and training in therapeutic horticulture. With a 25-year career in horticulture and a background in social work, she has spent the past 15 years as a horticultural therapist, consultant, and therapeutic horticulture educator. Her work with Ukraine began during her time as therapeutic horticulture program manager at the North Carolina Botanical Garden and continues through her global training efforts today. And Tony Allison is the board president of Partnerships for Nature. Tony was born and raised in the Pacific Northwest, and throughout his career has been engaged with the region's unique natural environment. Tony has served as a public high school teacher and worked for many years for Washington Park Arboretum and Mountains to Sound Greenway in Seattle, where he developed curriculum and led classroom and field lessons for children. In 2010, Tony founded a program of international environmental education exchanges between partner organizations in the Pacific Northwest and the former Soviet Union. He is a co-founder of Partnerships for Nature, which we'll hear more about today. So again, welcome to both of you. I'm so looking forward to hearing more about your work. And with that, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much for the great introduction, Kavana. Thanks to Emily Weaver. The introduction of her was wonderful and right on the spot. We really wouldn't be able to do what we've been doing without her great support and input. What I'd like to do beyond that right now is thank Duke Botanical Garden for hosting this and for all of you for coming today. And special thanks to Kavana for leading this, putting this together, and also to the director, Bill Lefebvre, who has been a great supporter of our work in Ukraine and elsewhere over the past several years. So thank you very much. What I'd like to do is say a few words about Partnerships for Nature, but take minimal time for that so we can hear the maximum amount from our incredible Ukrainian participants, guests who are here. It's evening right now in Ukraine. It's about 7 p.m. As you all know, the war is still raging, and they still have managed to show up today. So we definitely want to hear mainly from them. As far as Partnerships for Nature, we're a nonprofit located in Washington State, and our group is made up of people who have been involved with environmental education with the countries of the former Soviet Union, and we've been at this since about 2010. Partnerships for Nature is a new organization in 2020. And we first went to Ukraine in 2019 and got to know Andrei, who's here on the screen, and some of his colleagues, and found that we had a lot to talk about in terms of improving environmental education and public outreach. As you all know, then came the pandemic, so we were not able to conduct our normal exchange programs. We went online, and we're intensively online meeting, conducting webinars and seminars for a couple of years. Finally, in 2022, we were about to bring a Ukrainian group over when Russia invaded, and we had to put that, of course, completely on hold. And I'm going to tell the story through Andrei's words, and then we're going to hear from Andrei as well about what happened and how U.S. Botanical Gardens got involved to support Ukraine, including Duke. What I'd like to do first is give them all a chance to just say hello and introduce themselves by name. And so I'll go around the block. Andrei, could you just introduce yourself briefly? Andrei, можно представиться?
My name is Andrei Prokopiev, and I work as the director of the Botanical Garden of Lviv University.
Thank you. Alla?
Hello, I'm Alla Gnatyuk. I'm a scientist from National Botanical Garden from Ukraine, from Kiev, and now I'm a TH therapist in this garden.
Thank you. Miroslava?
Hello, I am Miroslava Helish, Lviv Botanical Garden.
Thank you. Tatiana?
Оксана Собко, Кривий Ріг, Botanical Garden.
Thank you. That was Kryvyi Rih Botanical Garden. And Yulia?
Yulia Gelis, Odessa Botanical Garden, and I'm going to help with translation today.
Yeah, and I want to underline that this all couldn't happen without the wonderful translating abilities of Yulia Galis, who does a lot of work on this for us all the time. So what I plan to do, I'm going to show a short video to just introduce everyone to our work in Ukraine and really to the Ukrainians and what they've done, which is amazing. And in the video, you'll see Andrei and you'll see Miroslava. So I'm going to share a screen and start this, just a 3-minute video.
Мене звати Андрій Прокопів. Працюю директором ботанічного саду Львівського університету вже більше 20 років. В нашій країні вже більше 2 років триває війна, жахіття якої відчуває практично кожна родина. В тому часі чимало людей вимушені були покинути власні домівки, переїхати в інші міста, села. Для них дуже важливим сьогодні є зняття навантаження психологічного, емоційного, і відвідини ботанічного саду в цьому сприяють. Ботанічні сади України, зокрема 5, розпочали роботу над підготовкою програм з терапевтичного садівництва. І це стало можливим завдяки підтримці наших колег з Сполучених Штатів Америки, некомерційної організації Partnerships for Nature з Сіетлу і ботанічного саду Північної Кароліни. Ці програми спрямовані на різні групи осіб, які б мали б можливість шляхом садівничої практики відволіктися від тих проблем сьогодення. Ботанічні сади України – унікальні місця з великим потенціалом для реалізації програм з терапевтичного садівництва. Щоправда, для цього потрібно організувати відповідні простори на території саду, необхідний інвентар для організації таких програм і занять, і вкрай необхідна підтримка для того, щоб можна було реалізувати ті програми на високому рівні і покращити емоційний і фізичний стан людей.
Зокрема, наш ботанічний сад у Львові започаткував програму «Терапія у саду. Садівництво для дітей з особливими потребами».
Впродовж 2 місяців діти сіяли насіння, пересаджували рослини в ґрунт, доглядали за рослинами, поливали і прополювали їх, збирали пахучі трави, робили з них букети та набори для чаювання, подарунки для своїх рідних та близьких, створювали орігамі і прикрашали ними ботанічний сад. Це все дозволяє дітям більше рухатися, а коли вони концентрують свою увагу на певних діях, це перенаправляє їхню тривожність і стрес у творчий процес, що дозволяє їм розслабитися, подолати замкнутість і почати спілкуватися з іншими дітьми та дорослими. Кожен в Україні зараз потребує такого відпочинку.
Для нашого ботанічного саду такі програми – це цілком новий підхід. Сказати відверто, ми самі не очікували такої позитивної реакції та захоплених відгуків від наших учасників і їхнього щирого бажання продовжувати відвідувати програму. Ось що каже мама, асистент одного з дітей-учасників програми. У нас є 2 місця, куди мій син ходить із великим захопленням. Це в гості до бабусі і до вас на програму. Нам ще багато чому треба вчитися. Ми потребуємо більше спеціалістів, які мають навички роботи з громадськістю, аби вповні використовувати природні ресурси нашого ботанічного саду для покращення здоров'я українців.
Thank you. I am now going to show a PowerPoint that was done by Andre, and the reason for that, we work together so closely that it's not difficult to do. But we want to make sure that we minimize the time, so this will allow the PowerPoint to be given in English. I want to mention again that at the end there will be a question and answer session, and we're really hoping that you know, in the webinar, we can't see your faces. I wish we could, but we're hoping that you'll have plenty of questions, and you could put them in the chat along the way as they come up for you, and then we can respond to them at the end. So I'm going to now share screen again and do a PowerPoint that will start with me giving Andre's part, and then we'll switch to 3 of the scientist educators who will give their own part, updating their work in Ukraine. That video we just saw was made last year. You could tell it just mentioned 2 years of the war. We're a lot further along, and the programs have been expanded and further developed. So here's a story. It's going to start with a little bit of a picture of Ukraine in general, just for those who would like to know more about the country, and then move into the work that's being done there in therapeutic horticulture. So a little bit about the country of Ukraine. And the slide's not moving. Let me try that again. Well, Joanna, do you have any suggestions? It worked just a minute ago.
I could try sharing it from my end.
Okay,
Yeah, since I'm not sure what's going on yours, but it's not a webinar if there's not some kind of technical difficulty. So hopefully this is the only one we'll hit, and you'll just have to queue me up.
yep.
And I'll need to put it into slideshow mode. All right, can everyone see that?
Yes.
All
Okay,
right,
thank you. And I'll just say next slide, and then the
Mhm.
Ukrainians can do the same.
Sounds great.
Okay, so just some quick background. The country is large. It's the largest country in Europe, if you don't count Russia. And the population before the war was about 44 million. It's considerably less at this point. They've had something like 5 or 6 million who have gone outside of Ukraine, as well as many internal migrants we'll hear more about. Next slide, please. And this is just a quick view of the incredible architecture and historical buildings across Ukraine to give you a little bit of a flavor for the country. Hopefully at some point it'll be easy to travel there again, as it was before 2020. Next slide. These are the sort of eco zones of Ukraine. So you get a little sense of the physical side of the country. It moves from the is everyone seeing the full screen? I'm having a little trouble seeing the full slide there. Yeah, there's a black bar on the screen. Someone's writing that. It's keeping us from seeing the whole screen. The screen is cropped.
Let's see. Tony, do you want to try again?
I could. I can't figure out what setting I might have that would be causing this problem. But
Yeah, does it work to use the arrows on the bottom of the screen to click on those to advance it?
yes, good idea. Thank you. Okay.
Thanks to
Sorry.
thanks to the
Apologize
chat.
to everyone. Should have thought of that. Okay, so now we can see better the 4 zones of Ukraine, essentially 4 large zones stretching from mixed forest in the north to the combination forest steppe, and then down to mountainous regions in the south, especially the southwest where the Carpathians are. And here's where the main botanical gardens are located across Ukraine. As you can see, they're really geographically distributed, and we'll talk more about the ones that the folks on the screen are from later. I just would mention that the 2 on the far right, the one down in Crimea and the one in Donetsk, are in the occupied areas. And you can see there are 2 in Kiev, and 2 in Lviv as well. And some of these gardens are very old, stretching back into the 19th century. And you can see Lviv goes back to 1852, and Kharkiv is the oldest back in the early 19th century. So it's quite a wealth of historical, cultural heritage as well as botanical. I mentioned we got involved from 2019, and then in 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion. This shows some of the damage done to a couple of the botanical gardens, including Odessa, where Yulia is from. But beyond the physical damage, much more impactful actually was the fact that when the war started, the staff of these gardens, many of them fled, of course, especially from the ones in the east. And many left the country. And there was a real threat to the collections as well as to the gardens being able to stay open and provide that place of recovery and rest and respite for Ukrainians who were actually flooding into the gardens as they arrived in these cities with families fleeing the war. And so Partnerships for Nature, along with Botanic Gardens Conservation International, or BGCI, which is the International Association of Botanic Gardens, launched a fundraising campaign. And mainly through Botanic Gardens, we were able to raise $100,000, which was distributed at the end of 2022 to 10 of these gardens, the ones shown there on the map, enabling them to stay open and to preserve their extremely valuable collections and to serve the public during the war. Here are the gardens that contributed. They're international, most of them are US, and I really want to point out down in the bottom right, you can see that Duke contributed, and Duke contributed twice exactly. We're very thankful for that. These are the 5 gardens that launched therapeutic horticulture programs with the support of Emily in North Carolina back in 2024. We've been at it for about a year and a half. So if you can see my cursor, this is Kryvyi Rih, where Titania is from. As you can see, it's in the eastern part, very close to the front lines today. Ala is from Kiev, which you've probably all heard of, know where it is, basically the capital and the largest city. And Andrei and Miroslava are from Lviv, over in the far west near the Polish border. And Yulia is from Odessa, down near the Black Sea. Those are the gardens that have been working on therapeutic horticulture for a year and a half, and 10 of their staff are about to receive certificates from North Carolina attesting to their capabilities in therapeutic horticulture. This was what we're doing sort of now and have been doing since 2024, which is trying to raise funds for support of their therapeutic horticulture work, and we'll get back to that at the end of the presentation. Most recently, Partnerships for Nature delivered 7 mini grants to 7 different gardens in Ukraine, including the ones on the screen here, for them to move forward with their projects, including building maybe some new installations to support their work in environmental education and therapeutic horticulture. And this is the one that one of the ones that Lviv did. You can see Miroslava there on the screen with some others. And at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Miroslava, who will then hand it to Tatiana and then Ala, and they will each be talking about their work in their gardens with the public during the war, including therapeutic horticulture. So, Miroslava.
Дякую. Вже другий рік поспіль ми у ботанічному саду Львова працюємо у напрямку терапевтичного садівництва. І у минулому році, як ви бачили на відео, у нас була програма з терапевтичного садівництва для дітей з особливими потребами, і вона була досить успішною.
So in Lviv Botanical Garden, we've been working with TH for almost 2 years. And last year we had a program for children with special needs, and it was really a successful program.
В цьому році ми вирішили адаптувати і організувати простір для емоційного і фізичного розвантаження наших відвідувачів. Ідея полягала у створенні тактильного кола для ходіння босоніж.
So this year we decided to establish a place for emotional and maybe physical relief of our visitors. And the idea was to build a space for like a path for walking barefoot.
Це спеціально облаштована доріжка, яка складається з секторів, заповнених різними природними матеріалами: деревина, галька, пісок, кора, березові та вербові гілки.
So this path consists of different parts which are filled with different natural materials such as bark, wood, sand, pebbles.
Next slide, please. За підтримки наших американських партнерів нам вдалося зреалізувати цей проект, і у ботанічному саду ми облаштували стежку для ходіння босоніж.
So with support of our American partners, we were able to implement this project, and we established this path for walking barefoot in our garden.
Тепер ми пропонуємо нашим відвідувачам новий сенсорний досвід, адже ходіння босоніж позитивно впливає на здоров'я, зміцнює м'язи стоп, покращує рівновагу, а також допомагає заспокоїтися і зняти стрес.
So now we can offer a new sensory experience for our visitors, because walking barefoot, it gives some pleasant emotions, gives some relief, strengthen muscles of feet, and helps to calm down.
І наша локація викликає жваве зацікавлення у наших відвідувачів, а особливо у дітей. Ми навіть не сподівалися на таку популярність, жодна екскурсійна група не минає цю локацію.
So, and this place is really popular among our visitors, especially among children. So each group, they enjoy this place, and we didn't even expect this popularity.
Доходить навіть до таких курйозних моментів, коли керівники екскурсійних груп не дозволяють дітям знімати взуття з якихось причин. Однак діти, коли бачать надпис «босоніж», вони ігнорують цю заборону.
So there are even some fun moments, for example, when group leaders, they don't allow children to take off their shoes, for example. But when children see the sign, walking barefoot, they totally ignore the teachers and enjoy the place.
Ходіння босоніж викликає величезну радість у дітей, і ми хочемо поділитися з вами цими емоціями у наступному відео.
So everyone is really happy to have this experience. So we'd like to share these emotions in our new video.
Також в цьому році ми вирішили популяризувати напрямок терапевтичне садівництво, поділитися тими знаннями, які ми отримали від Емілі Вівер, а також поділитися власним досвідом з ширшою аудиторією, аби заохотити їх до впровадження цієї практики.
So, but this year we decided to share our knowledge of TH and our experience we got from Emily Weaver, so to a bigger audience, to share to share our experience and our knowledge of TH.
І ми почали співпрацювати з дитячим садком, що розташований неподалік ботанічного саду.
We started collaborating with kindergarten, which is near our garden.
І ми провели з колегою такі семінари, тренінги, майстер-класи для педагогів дитячого садка, на яких розповіли, що таке терапевтичне садівництво, як можна залучити найменших діток до терапевтичного садівництва і як можна облаштувати простори терапевтичні у садку.
So with my colleague, we held a series of workshops and for teachers of kindergarten, and shared our knowledge about TH and also about how can we engage the youngest children into this program, into TH program, and also how to design a special TH spaces within the kindergarten.
Next slide. І нас дуже тішить те, що ми надихнули педагогів з дитячого садка, і вони почали проводити заняття з терапевтичного садівництва з дітьми у садку, або запрошуючи нас, або самостійно.
So we are really pleased that we were able to inspire teachers to hold these activities, TH activities in kindergarten. So they invite us or they hold these activities on their own.
Це так коротко про нашу роботу. Дякую за увагу.
So thank you for your attention. It's a short story about our work.
Thank you. Thank you, Miroslava. Тетяна?
Криворізький ботанічний сад Національної академії наук України знаходиться в Дніпропетровській області, займає площу 53 гектари і має в своєму складі дендрологічний парк і оранжерейний комплекс.
So Kryvyi Rih Botanical Garden is a garden of Ukraine Academy of Sciences. It is situated in Dnipropetrovsk region, and its area is 53 hectares, almost 53 hectares. It consists of dendrological park, arboretum, and a complex of greenhouses.
Військові дії проходять дуже близько до нашого міста, у нас постійні тривоги, у нас постійні обстріли, і тим не менше місто прихистило 90 тисяч переселенців із окупованих територій.
So unfortunately, our city is really close to front line. So we also have air raids. City is constantly attacked. And but anyway, our city was able to invite here to host almost 90,000 of displaced people.
Тому наші перші кроки з терапевтичного садівництва були пов'язані якраз з цією аудиторією. Ми запрошували внутрішньо переміщених осіб до себе на інтерпретаційні екскурсії і на майстер-класи.
So that's why, because of this quantity of displaced people, our first TH sessions were exactly for this audience. We invited them to tours, to workshops.
Далі ми почали працювати з військовими, які проходили реабілітацію у нашому місті, але наразі їх кількість дещо зменшилась, тому що наше місто перестало бути безпечним, і військових відправляють на реабілітацію у більш віддалені регіони від лінії фронту.
So then we started to work with military who were on rehabilitation in our city. So, but now, unfortunately, these meetings are really rare because our city isn't safe anymore, and those military who have their treatment, they are usually sent to safer regions.
Ми продовжуємо роботу із пенсіонерами. На такі заходи ми завжди запрошуємо дитячі творчі колективи, маленьких співаків і музикантів. Це приносить позитивні враження як для пенсіонерів, так і для дітей.
So we keep working with elderly people. And usually for this event, for this audience, we invite and collaborate with art community of our city. So we collaborate with musicians, with singers. So it usually gives some relief and joy.
У цьому році ми почали працювати з новою для нас аудиторією. Це люди, які мають психічні розлади і обмежені фізичні можливості. І, на жаль, це не лише дорослі, але й діти.
So this year we started working with people who suffer from mental and physical disabilities. And unfortunately, there are not only adults, but also children among them.
Такі заняття розраховані, як правило, на 2 місяці. На цих заняттях ми навчаємо, як пересаджувати рослини, як за ними доглядати, як створювати квіткові композиції. І це приносить радість і дітям, і нам.
So we've developed a series of TH workshops, for this audience, which last for almost 2 months. And during these sessions, we teach how to take care of plants, how to repot plants, how to make flower arrangements. Everyone really enjoys these activities.
На таких заняттях обов'язково присутні психологи, присутні асистенти і присутні медичні працівники.
We think that it's really it's obligatory to have some assistants and psychologists during these workshops working with this type of audience.
Але все-таки найбільша наша аудиторія на сьогодні – це школярі. Школи у Кривому Розі працюють онлайн, тому що не всі забезпечені сховищами.
So, but the biggest our audience is children of school age. Children in our city, they study online because schools don't have bomb shelters.
Тому ми намагаємося залучити школярів до терапевтичного садівництва. Ми проводимо для них майстер-класи і відмічаємо, що у них поліпшується комунікація між собою, вони стають більш активні, вони докладають фізичних зусиль, і це позитивно діє на їх психологічний стан.
So that's why we try to engage children into therapeutic horticulture activities. So, and we've noticed that their mood, their physical state have improved since our activities.
Всі ці зустрічі, вони дуже емоційно забарвлені і залишаються надовго в пам'яті. Моє заняття, яке я проводила із дітьми, що мають психічні розлади, у стилі примітивного малювання, мені запам'яталося найбільше.
So one of the most memorable activities, sessions for me was session workshop for primitive painting, for children with mental disabilities.
Ми використовували незвичайні пензелі, ми з підручних матеріалів зробили такі маленькі пензлики, які було зручно тримати дітям у ручках. Ми дозволили дітям малювати фарбами, які їм подобаються, і це не обов'язково були ті фарби, які притаманні для рослин.
So children were invited to choose colors, to choose paints they liked, and paint the way they liked. So, it wasn't necessary to paint leaves green or sky blue.
Якщо діти спочатку були дуже такі сковані, вони були мало активні, вони трималися поближче до своїх асистентів, то коли вони побачили ті малюнки, які ми їм запропонували зробити, і дозволили їм вибирати фарби і малювати те, що їм подобається, їх настрій змінився.
So initially, these children, they were reserved, anxious, tried to stay closer to their assistants. But when they saw paintings we offered to make, they were inspired, and their mood had changed as well.
Вони стали посміхатися, вони стали підходити до мене, вони стали задавати запитання, вони хвалилися своїми малюнками, і було видно, що їм це дуже подобається.
They started smiling, they started communicating, they tried to draw my attention, to show their paintings, and it was obvious they really enjoyed this activity.
І коли ми бачимо зміну таку зміну настрою у дітей, ми розуміємо, що наша праця не марна і що це ми доклали своїх зусиль для того, щоб у дітей поліпшився настрій і психологічний стан.
So, and when we can see these results of our work, these changes in their mood and behavior, so it's really rewarding. So we can see that we know for sure that we are doing the right thing.
Це наглядний приклад, як терапевтичне садівництво може змінити психоемоціональний стан людей. І ми дуже цьому тішимося і будемо працювати і надалі.
So it's just one example of how TH activity can change a person's state, a person mood and behavior. So we are going to keep working in this area, and we are really pleased with these results. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Tanya. Алла.
Дякую за можливість представити інформацію про терапевтичне садівництво сьогодні у Національному ботанічному саду імені Миколи Миколайовича Гришка.
So I'm happy to introduce therapeutic horticulture programs in Botanical Garden of Kyiv National University.
National Academy of Science of
National
Ukraine.
Academy of Science of Ukraine. Thank you.
Наш ботанічний сад розташований у місті, і ми маємо територію приблизно 130 гектарів.
So our garden is situated within the city, so and its area is almost 130 hectares.
Ми маємо дуже багато різноманітних колекцій рослин помірної зони, а також колекцій у закритому ґрунті субтропіків і субтропічних і тропічних рослин.
We have really rich outdoor and indoor collections of plants, as well as tropical and subtropical plants.
Також ми маємо приміщення, які можна легко адаптувати для проведення занять з терапевтичного садівництва у будь-яку пору року.
So also there are buildings here we can transform for holding TH activities during any season.
Тож ми проводимо заняття з терапевтичного садівництва круглий рік.
So we hold these activities whole year.
Звіти про ці заняття ви можете побачити на Facebook за хештегом «Терапевтична ботаніка».
So more information about these activities you can find out following the hashtag Therapeutic Botanic.
Саме так, терапевтична ботаніка, ми назвали наш проект, який реалізується наразі в ботанічному саду за підтримки вашої BGCI та за сприяння Partnership for Nature.
So we chose exactly this name, Therapeutic Botanic, for our TH program we are implementing in our garden, thanks to your support, to support of BGCI, of American Partnerships for Nature.
Next slide. Будь-яка робота, вона неможлива без людей. Отже, на слайді представлена наша команда, яка займалась TH.
So here on this slide you can see our team who were involved into this implementation of TH program.
Next. Для кого ми проводили ці програми? Зокрема, для ветеранів та поранених військових на реабілітації.
So who is our audience here? First of all, you can see we held these programs for veterans and wounded soldiers.
Наступне. Наразі в Україні є релігійні організації та громадські організації, які опікуються родичами військових. родичами військових. Так.
So in Ukraine, there are a lot of NGOs, non-profit organizations, and religious organizations who support relatives of military, yeah, or of veterans.
Ботанічний сад був залучений до 2 таких програм для мам загиблих військових.
So a botanical garden was involved in 2 of these programs. First one was for mothers of killed military.
Та для родичів тих, які пропали безвісті на цій війні.
So, and for relatives of those who lost their beloved ones, yeah, for their relatives who are considered to be missed, yeah.
Так, наступний слайд. Звичайно, що терапевтичне садівництво цікаве і для дитячої аудиторії, і нашими відвідувачами були діти, і, зокрема, діти, які знаходились на лікуванні у дитячій лікарні Охмадит.
So, of course, children are very fond of these TH activities, and among our participants were children who had their treatment in some children's hospitals, exactly in Ahmedid.
Наступний слайд. Також до нас приїздять досить важкі діти з певних організацій, зокрема, тут світлини із дітьми з церебральним паралічем.
Also children with some really hard health problems, they join our programs as well. And you can see here children with cerebral palsy, they joined our TH program.
Ці дітки були у нас позаминулого року.
So we invited those children in 2023.
І зараз вони знову знайшли можливість приїхати до ботанічного саду.
And this year they found the opportunity to visit our garden again.
Вони дуже добре відгукувались на прогулянку і на вправи по торканню до рослин.
So we noticed a real impact of sensory walking during this visit. So they responded very well to this activity, the sensory activity.
Дуже важко їм доторкнутися або взяти щось в руки, і коли це вдається, то дійсно це викликало посмішки на їх обличчях.
So it's really hard for them to touch or take something, yeah. But when they succeeded in this activity, so it caused smiles and joy.
Батьки були дуже вдячні мені, навіть подарували іграшку саморобну, і для мене це було дуже емоційно.
So parents were really grateful and even gave me handmade toy as a present. It was really moving.
Next slide. Найчастіше до нас приходили люди, діти і дорослі з ментальними порушеннями.
So our biggest audience is adults, children with mental disabilities.
Від них та їх рідних ми отримали найбільшу кількість позитивних відгуків та бажання приходити ще.
So we got the biggest number of positive comments from this audience, from their parents, and they look forward to visiting our garden more and more.
Світлини з їхніми активностями в мене навіть не вмістились на один слайд, тому ще один наступний слайд також про них.
There are so many photos that I couldn't put them on one slide, so you can look at them on the next slide.
Наступний слайд. Щодо яскравих моментів, їх важко виокремити, тому що кожного разу це несподіванка і сюрприз, бо ніколи не знаєш, яка буде аудиторія наступна і як вона зреагує на заходи.
Speaking about some bright and memorable moments of TH activities, it's every time it's a kind of surprise because you never know what audience you will host. Yeah, so you can't expect. You never know what you have to expect.
Кожен раз ми просили залишити відгуки або в електронній Google формі, посилання на неї ви бачите в правому нижньому кутку, або зобразити їх різнокольоровими папериками або смайликами.
So every time we ask our visitors to assess our activity and leave some comments. And you can see in the right bottom, you can see this link to fill in Google form, or we asked them to choose some smiles or some colorful stripes to match their mood.
Завжди цікаво їх відгуки читати, розглядати, і два з них ви можете бачити на слайді. Ці для мене найцінніші.
It's always interesting to read these comments, and you can see some more valuable for me here on the screen.
Наступний слайд. Я дякую вам за увагу і можливість висловитися.
Thank you for your attention and this opportunity to tell more about TH in our gardens.
Thank you so much, Alla, and again, Tanya, and again, Miroslava. I'm going to just show this for a second. I know we want to move on to the end of the webinar shortly. It does have a QR code in case anyone's interested. That will link to our website. On our website, there's a lot more information about this work and also the opportunity to donate or to ask questions if you have any later on. I think also through Kavana and Duke Botanical Garden, you could easily get in touch with me directly. I'd appreciate that through email. So I'll move off this slide and I will take down the PowerPoint. And I'll just ask Andrei Prokopiev who's really been our leader and our coordinator in Ukraine for the last many years. Incredible job. He's running a botanical garden at the same time he's doing that. To say just a few words in summary and then pass it to Emily for a few words, what she'd like to sum up, and then open to questions. Thank you, Andrei.
Дякую, Тоні. Я так розумію, що в мене вже зовсім мало часу залишилось.
So thank you, everyone. Yeah, so I realize I have so little time left.
Я передусім хочу подякувати за те, що ми з колегами мали можливість сьогодні відвідати, бодай віртуально, але ботанічний сад Дюка.
So first of all, I'm really grateful to say that we had this opportunity today visit your garden, at least virtually, Garden Duke Botanical Garden.
І представити ту невеличку частину роботи, яку дуже віддано або самовіддано виконують наші працівники і здобувають той досвід, який для них є неоціненним.
So, and for this chance to show this small part of our work, our colleagues are doing all over the parks, all over the gardens in Ukraine, and this experience is really valuable for us.
Ми дуже дякуємо за увагу від ботанічного саду Дюку по підтримці наших попередніх проєктів і те, що вони жертвували кошти на підтримку наших програм.
We are really grateful Duke Botanical Garden for support of our previous projects.
Дуже вдячні підтримці BGCI і передусім підтримці зі сторони PN наших починань і тому досвіду, якого ми набули при навчанні з Емілі Вівер з ботанічного саду Північної Кароліни.
So, and of course, we really appreciate all the support of BGCI and Partnerships for Nature, and especially support of Emily Weaver. And we are grateful for that experience and knowledge we got from working together.
Тиждень тому ми з Тоні повернулися з світового конгресу, який відбувався в Сеулі, з освіти в ботанічних садах, і пересвідчилися в тому, що співтовариство ботанічних садів має неабияку силу і потенціал для того, щоб об'єднувати людей і давати можливість навіть такий час важкий, як зараз в нас, реалізовувати багато цікавих і потрібних для відвідувачів проєктів.
So last week we visited with Tony Congress for Botanical Gardens in Seoul, Congress for Eco-Education, Therapeutic Horticulture. And so this was the experience which showed us again that botanical gardens, community of botanical gardens is a community that can support and unite people in any tough times.
Дякую.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. Emily?
Thank you. Oh, it's amazing to see everything that these amazing women have accomplished over the past year and a half. I've been a therapeutic horticulture practitioner and educator for many years now. Through my previous role at the North Carolina Botanical Garden, where the majority of this work for the project occurred, and now at Root in Nature. So I've seen hundreds of people come through the TH certificate courses that we provide, most of them with the hope of starting a new TH program or integrating TH into their existing roles. And it may come as a surprise, but out of 50 students taking, you know, if I were to take like an educated guess about how many of them might actually successfully launch a TH program within the first year of graduating with a certificate, it might be 25 or 30 of them. And this is mainly because, unfortunately, like many human services programs, TH programs tend to be underfunded and understaffed, even though they're wildly popular with participants and have evidence-based outcomes. So it takes a lot of tenacity, heart, and training, and sometimes a perfect combination of people who not only believe in nature-based healing, but are able to pool resources to get a program going. And all of this is relevant to countries that aren't at war. So this is why I've just been so inspired that 100% of the Ukrainian gardens who dedicated themselves to the TH training that Partnerships for Nature and I contributed during my time at the North Carolina Botanical Garden have all started TH programs of their own with war raging around them, little to no resources, but with the sincere desire to contribute and to heal their country. Even now, they're helping to translate the North Carolina Botanical Gardens online TH certificate content into Ukrainian, so that other Ukrainians have the ability to access education and the healing potential of TH. They attended many, many hours of live Zoom TH training sessions with Tony and I. They developed program proposals, and ultimately they beat the odds by starting programs in their own communities, as you well saw in the presentations earlier. So I guess I just wanted to say that I'm so honored to be a member of this team, and I'm still in awe that Partnerships for Nature was able to bring us all together. And that if you had removed even just one person from our international team, some or all of this might not have been possible. It shows just how fine the line was between success and failure. So thank you, Duke Gardens, so much for giving us the opportunity to share our work and to celebrate the incredible victory that our Ukrainian partners have achieved. I'm excited to continue these relationships for many, many years to come through my role at Root in Nature, because we stand in solidarity with the Ukrainian people. So thank you so much for attending, everybody who joined us today.
Yes, thanks once again to everyone. I see we're beyond our 1 hour. I know we don't have to leave. So anybody who wants to ask questions, please stick around and And I'll turn it back over to Kavana with, again, a final thank you. And to be honest, it's a huge honor for me to be part of this whole thing as well. And I really want to thank our Ukrainian guests in particular for making the effort to be able to be here today, along with all the work they've done. So, Kavana, I'll hand it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll add my own thanks. What an honor it is for Duke Gardens to be able to share this incredible work that you all are doing. We're grateful to be able to amplify, yeah, just what you're doing and spread the word. So thanks to everyone for joining us. If you need to hop off, thanks for being here. We will extend a few minutes for any questions. And for those of you who do need to leave right away, you can always watch the recording that you'll receive to hear any of the questions that you might miss. So far, there have been a couple of questions in the chat. If you do have questions, you can continue using the chat or the Q&A feature, whichever one you prefer. And the first question, I should also mention there's a lot of appreciation in the chat, especially for the barefoot path. That was a very popular, everyone wants to walk on that path ourselves. So thank you for sharing the photos of your beautiful country. This question begins, with so many refugees and local people who have been traumatized by war, are you growing food as part of any of the TH programs?
З такою кількістю ось переселенців, біженців, так, чи вирощуєте ви в садах їжу, так, як частину цих терапевтичних заходів?
Дозволите. Скажу, спробую коротенько. Насправді, коли почалася війна, ботанічні сади виконували невластиву їм функцію. В нас проживало дуже багато людей, які були переміщені, і ботанічний сад вимушено займався дуже різними справами, далеко не завжди ботанічним садом.
So when the war, I have to say that when the war started, a botanical garden, did a lot of different things, not only botanical,
Але сьогодні ми переконалися в тому, що нам треба зосередитися на тій роботі, яку ми можемо робити професійно. І вирощувати продукти в ботанічному саді і роздавати їх людям, ну, просто нерентабельно, недоцільно і, напевно, не відповідає санітарним нормам.
But today we realize that we have to focus on activities we can do professionally, and that's why growing food in our garden maybe it's not the things we have to do, because maybe it's not even we can do this professionally, and we can do this in a massive amount, to support people. But may I add, можна я додам трошки, так? So, because in Odessa Botanical Garden, we have therapeutic vegetable garden where we grow food, and our participants, they are involved into growing. But of course, they take care of these plants, they harvest the crop, but of course, the amount of this food isn't enough to really support, it's just like treat. Thank you.
І, власне, я теж хотів додати, що ми маємо можливість представити і показати, як вирощуються рослини, але точно не вирощувати їх на потреби відвідувачів, тому що ми не задовільнимо тих потреб, і хтось залишиться ображений. Тому ми радше покажемо, як ростуть рослини для всіх охочих в ботанічному саді, а не будемо їх вирощувати для мешканців.
So that's why we can, for example, show how to take care of plants, how to grow plants, and how to have even maybe some crops, but we can't do this as a production of food.
Another question is, tell us more about how to support this work. Where do people go if they want to contribute financially or learn more about ways to support it?
Розкажіть, будь ласка, як можна підтримати цю роботу? Що можуть зробити люди, якщо вони хочуть підтримати вашу роботу?
I can respond to that. And I saw another one in the chat where someone asked for an email distribution, giving a contact information to support our work. And that would be great, Kavana, if you could do that. And I showed earlier, I don't want to do it again and interrupt this quick Q&A. once you are on the Partnership for Nature website, there is a lot of information and a donation button, and donations can be made online or by check if you prefer. So I think, if you're okay with that, we'll get that out to everyone afterward. Thank you for the question very much.
Yes. All right. A question wondering whether any gardens have ongoing volunteer programs with volunteers who come regularly to take care of the plants.
Чи проводяться в ботанічних садах програми з волонтерами, які приходять і допомагають, волонтерські програми приходять і допомагають доглядати рослини?
Київ.
Так, зокрема, в нашому ботанічному саду в Києві є волонтери, які дійсно приходять і допомагають. На Фейсбуці у нас навіть є група волонтери ботанічного саду, де працівники запрошують, і відповідно люди відгукуються і приходять допомагати. Вони є, але їх не настільки багато, як нам би хотілося.
So, for example, in Kyiv, of course, we have volunteers, and we have even a group for volunteers on social media. So, and when we need some help, we can invite volunteers to support us. But of course, their number isn't that big as we would like to have.
Okay, thank you. Another question is, how are you continuing TH programs during the winter?
Питання таке, як продовжуєте ось ці програми з TH протягом зими, під час зими?
Власне, Мирослава в своїй доповіді згадала про те, що, власне, взимку вони працювали з дитячими садками, і ці навчання, які вони проводили, це навчання проводилися в зимовий час. І це свідчення того, що про рослини і про те, як відноситися до рослин, можна на такій ігровій формі через майстер-класи, такі ігри в приміщенні навчати спершу вихователів дитячих садочків, а потім вони можуть ці ідеї використовувати для своїх діточок.
So, for example, in Lviv Botanical Garden, in our presentation, you could see that we held some series of educational activities for teachers of kindergartens. So it's in winter, so winter is a good time to go beyond the garden and implement these educational programs, for example, for teachers, to teach, first of all, teachers how to play, how to implement TH activities, and then give them a chance to work, to implement these programs on their own.
Якщо може, я ще додам. В Києві, і я говорила, в нас є і приміщення, і, слава Богу, що поки діють оранжереї. І, відповідно, всі програми ми можемо проводити в закритому ґрунті цілий рік.
So in Kyiv, for example, we have special building spaces here, indoor spaces where we can implement our programs. And of course, we have series of greenhouses which are open. And luckily, we have a chance to hold our TH activities there during the whole year.
Хочу додати, що з початком війни у нас була велика проблема з опаленням, і саме волонтери Києва об'єдналися і допомогли нам із дровами, з опаленням, і завдяки волонтерам тоді наш закритий ґрунт витримав.
So I have to add that when the war started, we had a really big problem with heating, and exactly volunteers were those who united and helped to overcome these problems, here to find wood, and that's why we were able to save our indoor collections.
All right, there's one more question, which I think could be a great one to end on, which is, what future goals does this group have?
Так, а питання таке, які у вас є, яка мета у вас на майбутнє є у цієї групи терапевтичної? Які цілі на майбутнє?
Якщо я коротенько лише скажу свої міркування з того приводу. Ну, показане сьогодні тактильне коло – це проект, який ми би хотіли, щоб він мав втілення набагато ширше. Щоб він поширився і за межі ботанічного саду, він потрапив в дитячі садки, в школи, в інші ботанічні сади, де цю ідею можна пропагувати, розвивати і поширювати.
So I would like to say that, for example, you saw this sensory path for barefoot walking. We would like, as an idea, one of ideas, to spread this path to other places where kindergartens, some social public spaces, where people would be able to experience this path.
У нас таких таємних ідей і проєктів ще є дуже багато, тільки потрібно ресурси, можливості і бажання людей їх втілювати в життя.
But honestly, it's just one example. We have plenty of ideas and projects, in mind. So we just need to have some resources, energy to implement these projects.
I would just add, for example, tomorrow we're having another meeting with our entire therapeutic horticulture group, and Emily will be there, and we'll be talking about next steps. So part of the answer to the question is it's an evolving process as we develop new goals, and we just hope to keep rolling forward to deepen and expand TH opportunities in wartime Ukraine, and then in post-war Ukraine as well, hopefully, when that day comes. Kavana, before we just totally close, I just want to thank again Yulia for her work today. Again, without that, I want to just give her a round of applause.
It's my pleasure.
Makes it all work. And again, thanks to everyone.
Yes, and I wanted to point out that one of the participants who's listening in today is from Ukraine, living in the Dobroslav, Odessa region, and she's invited you all to visit her there.
We invite her to visit our garden as well.
Great, continuing the partnerships. Well, yes, thank you to our panelists and everyone who's joined in listening. Really grateful to have you all sharing all of this work that you're doing. Many comments in the chat. Your work is groundbreaking and inspiring. You all are amazing, and your strength through very difficult situation is inspiring. This was fantastic. So I hope you all, I know you're closer to bedtime in Ukraine, so I hope you go to bed feeling, supported and inspired by the reflection of your work back to you.
I have to translate, Дуже багато таких коментарів, надихаючих і дуже теплих коментарів. І Кавана сподівається, що ось ця робота, яку ми робимо, що вона відгукнеться таким позитивом так само і для нас. Thank you.
All right. Hoping and praying for peace. Keep on growing.
Продовжуємо і сподіваємося на мир.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.